something completely different.
I have been full of tears for the past 14 hours. So let me paint a picture. So in 2013, I was the intern. I was the first ever intern for the Morning Show Boot Camp Radio Convention in 2013 and 2014, and I've gone to them since. And it's where over 200 radio hosts congregate. And luckily, the one back then was in Chicago, and I lived there, so I was able to just kind of, go to Chicago and meet a bunch of people. And a lot of the people at the radio conventions are fake. A lot of them are egomaniacs. But there was one guy. There's about a lot that I became friends with. Brother Weeze, BJ Shea, Rick Rumble, David Mahoney, Woody. And then there was a guy named Ace from the Ace and TJ radio show. His real name was David Cannon, and they were the biggest show among soccer moms and young adults from the 90s to about 20-something in Charlotte, and they were syndicated throughout the South. And Ace was one of those guys that you knew when you looked at Ace, you knew he was something. Like sometimes when you meet somebody out and about, if you're at like maybe a convention or a steakhouse and you're amongst prominent people and you just know that guy's got it going on, that was Ace. He had it going on. He was the man. Well, Ace last night passed away, and I was driving to my house last night. And I opened up LinkedIn because I have a new gig, the late night radio show with Terry James of Election Terry fame. So I've been checking my LinkedIn to see the messages I've been receiving. And I saw a post from RAMP. I think it's Radio and Music Publications. There's this group called RAMP that posts about radio. And they said that David Ace Cannon died at the age of 56. And there's always that before and after feeling of like, before you find out news, how you'll never be the same person. And I immediately broke into tears last night. It was, I've been crying all morning. Like, Ace was that guy, man. I got into some trouble throughout my early 20s in radio, getting fired from Rover's Morning Glory. And there were a lot of people that turned on me because I got fired for getting blackout drunk at bar crawl, even though they all party hard. But what I'm saying is, he stuck up for me online, and he told me, you can use me as a reference. I will always have your back. Because the thing with Ace was, when he was doing the Ace and TJ show, that was a show that was family friendly. They were in the South. Both Ace and TJ are religious, so they weren't very raunchy. They were edgy, but they weren't edgy, if that makes sense. They were PG-13, rated PG. You could have kids in the car. And Ace always took a very interesting view on my career and that of just shock jocks. We would talk about it because he always said he was kind of, and I'll just say it, he was always kind of envious of Man Cow's Morning Madhouse, Opie and Anthony, Howard Stern, some of the shows I've worked on. Even me, he was always kind of envious that he couldn't do some of the content. Like, I don't think he wanted to, quote unquote, exploit women and listeners, but he always took a fascination to the edgier radio shows because he goes, that's just not me. That's not what I do. And I have an appreciation for it. So I always really appreciated Ace for always kind of being able to see the good in other shows, even if it's not their style. Because a lot of times when I'd go to these radio conventions, people would be talking crap about my old boss, Calta, and I'd be like, I don't know. But Ace was always open-minded. Now, I do know in 2020, his daughter Peyton was driving his BMW, and Peyton was his role. Peyton and Cade were his kids, and he has another kid with his ex. And I'll talk about that in a second. But his two kids from his first marriage, I've never met a man who loved his kids more. There's a lot of radio shows that kind of exploit their kids in a way. They get their kids the nicest clothing, and they get their kids whatever they want, and their kids become brats. I never directly met TJ's kids, but I do know, Cade, if you're listening, your dad is my hero. And Peyton, she died in 2020. She was speeding in a BMW, and I believe she crashed into a tree on a rainy night. And my homie Ace, he was never the same after she died. Like, that was, in a way, the death of David Ace Cannon. Like there was always the before and after because we would talk on the phone, we would text, he called into my podcast, whatever I ever needed, he was my guy. He would view all my Snapchats and DM me and say, I'm so proud of you, keep going. Like he was that guy. And when his daughter died in 2020, I know a part of him died too. He put up a strong front. He really, tried to make it through, but I do know that crushed him. It crushed me. I even cried when Peyton died because I knew how much it meant to my boy Ace. Ace was the type of guy, when one of my uncles was dying in 2018, because he's in Charlotte, my uncle and my mom's side of the family lives in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and we were supposed to get dinner in Charlotte, but he's like, I'm so sorry, but I believe his daughter had cheer practice that night or something, and then Kate had something else, and it was always family first with him. A lot of other people would maybe ditch their kids to go see. No, but it was always family first. But he's like, whatever you need, I'm your guy. But unfortunately, Ace also had, we all have egos in radio. But I'm going to protect my boy. He was like a radio dad to me. I'm going to protect my radio dad. Ace had his flaws. Ace wasn't a perfect man. Nobody on this planet's a perfect person. And honestly, if you're a perfect person, you're boring, like Ryan Seacrest. But seriously, Ace had his flaws, and Ace got let go from his previous show, and they pretty much just wiped any memory of him online, like he never existed, which really pissed me off. And it took a lot out of me not to address that. And then, of course, whenever you're a public figure and you make your daughter and your son famous and you're the biggest show in Charlotte, there's Reddit topics out there that have over 2,000 comments, and people were trying to dox him, and some of his in-laws were trying to throw shots at him. And I just feel sorry for my boy. Like, Ace, you were one of a kind, man. There will never be somebody like you again. I have about 4 people I can call right now if I need anything. Woody, David Mahoney, BJ Shea, Brother Weeze, Rick Rumble, Mike McVeigh, that's about 6 people, and then Ace. And Ace was the one that I could literally call whenever. And my God, I had the most depressing sleep last night. I was crying myself to sleep. And the world's not the same, man. And to the people out there, I'm going to say this lightly. I don't want to be insensitive. But to the people out there that turned their back on him, I know he was not a perfect man. Ace messed up. But to the people out there that turned on him after doing everything for 30 years, for as long as I've been alive, shame on you. Absolute shame on you. It's ridiculous. The dude poured his heart into everything he did. He had his own charity for kids. I believe he had a cover rock band called Charity Case. He was all about entertaining others. And you know what's the saddest thing about all this? Not just the fact that there's people that are going to have to live with themselves for turning on him. Because I know what it's like to have people gossip about you after you leave a job. But you know what's the saddest thing about this? Ace didn't even know how awesome he was. I don't know if he was bipolar or had some personality disorder in the way he didn't like Ace. Ace didn't. I would tell Ace on my podcast, oh, you're one of my, because everybody jokes about it. There's a ton of radio shows that influenced me to go on the radio. But I used to hear Ace and TJ when I would visit North Carolina. So he was one of the, as I say, 45 radio shows that influenced me. But he was one of those examples of like, you don't want to meet your heroes, but meeting Ace, he was my hero. He was that guy. Ace was it. There will never be another Ace. And I'm just so absolutely sad about this. I'm literally tearing right now. This dude was legit. He had his flaws. We all know about Ace's anger. They talked about it on the show. But everybody gets angry. We need to remember the good parts about Ace because he was the GOAT of North Carolina radio. He was the man. There will never be another Ace. I am in awe that he's not here. And what's so sad is I don't think Ace liked himself, like I said. I don't think he realized the impact he had on people. I think he was focusing too much on the bad and not realizing that people adored him, that he was the man. And that absolutely breaks my heart. He made a video addressing getting let go from his previous show that just wiped his whole memory online for no reason. And he made a video about it in like December 30th. And I texted him, said, "Hey, bro, I hope you're doing well. I miss you. I'm very proud of the video you made." And he goes, "Hope you're doing well. Proud of you as well. I really appreciate all your support. You're my guy, dude." I said, "You're too talented to be out of work. 2025 will be your year." And he goes, "I'm not sure. I hope so." And I said, "Replace hope with I know so," with a smile. And he gave it a like. And immediately I knew he wasn't, I don't want to say doing well, but the old Ace, maybe before Peyton would have died in 2019, the Ace, I love Ace forever and ever. But the Ace I met when I was 13 was much more energetic. I just don't think he was able to recover fully after Peyton died. And Cade, if you're listening, man, I am so sorry. I lost my dad at age 21, and I know how it feels, and it's, your dad's a saint. I'm not a religious guy. I don't believe in God, but if there are saints, there is a Saint Ace. Your dad was the man. I'm crying right now. Your dad was the guy. And to his son that he had with his ex, if you're listening to this, maybe right now it's 2025 and you're about 2 years old. Let's say 2035 and you're looking up your dad and you're listening to this. Your dad loves you more than anything. He would always talk about, whenever we talked, how happy he was to have you and how it changed his world. And he was so, and your dad was the man. Your dad was a saint. Your dad was the GOAT. It's unfortunate that he's no longer here, but your dad, man, I'm crying right now. Like, Ace, like, I love you, bro. Like, this is so hard. I just, it sucks because I wish I could have, like, reached out or something. I don't know. Just shame on everybody that turned on him. I know we all make mistakes. I know that Ace wasn't perfect. But to all the people that turned on him, you have to live with that for the rest of your life.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.